Consigning winless Wolves to a club record-equalling 8th straight league defeat, Manchester United strolled to victory at Molineux. Moving up to 6th spot in the Premier League table, the Red Devils ultimately recover to win 4-1, having let a deserved lead slip just before the break. Bruno Fernandes bookended the scoring, scuffing home the opener and converting a late penalty, with Mount and Mbeumo also finding the net during a totally one-sided second half. Wolves had stirred some hope when Bellegarde equalised on the stroke of half-time, finally ending his team's long goal drought, but their brittle confidence was soon broken when Amorim's men returned from the break with renewed intent. United racked up 27 shots and a mammoth expected goals of 4.1, which was 10 times that of their hosts, as Wolves meekly accepted yet another loss. While Edwards must try to rouse his squad for a difficult weekend trip to Arsenal, United will host Bournemouth 1 week from now. With the final kick of a closely fought contest, Aston Villa steal victory over Premier League leaders Arsenal, moving second and reducing the Gunners' advantage to 3 points. Having absorbed some pressure during the second half, Villa struck decisively at the last, with Buendia coolly finishing off a scene of pure chaos in the visitors' box. Consigning Arteta's men to a first loss since August, Emery's side post their 7th straight win in the most dramatic style, while extending their dominant reign at Villa Park. Previously, a goal from halftime sub Trossard had cancelled out a first-half strike by Cash, as Arsenal grew in stature after the interval, but they couldn't find a crucial second goal. Villa's final expected goals of 2.27 also accounts for a few missed chances by Watkins, while Arsenal's 1.84 suggests they could have scored more. Both teams are bound for Europe next week, with the Villains off to Basel and the Gunners set to visit Club Brugge. Referee Oliver blows his whistle to bring an end to the match, which finishes Bournemouth 0-0 Chelsea. The game was a tough one to watch at times, with both sides struggling to find a final ball to force a breakthrough at the Vitality Stadium. Bournemouth flew out of the blocks in the first half, finding the net after 5 minutes through Semenyo, but the goal was quickly ruled out by VAR due to an offside in the build-up. Chelsea then slowly grew into the game and dominated possession, 61.3%. But a lack of creativity at the top of the pitch significantly hampered Maresca's side, who have now failed to win their last 3 Premier League matches. Garnacho went closest for the away side on 50 minutes after guiding a header onto the near post after a fine cross by Neto, who looked the most likely player in Chelsea colours to find an opening. Sanchez also made a couple of good saves to deny Semenyo, leaving the visitors with 7 clean sheets in their last 15 league matches. The Cherries now look to an away meeting with Manchester United next Monday. Meanwhile, Chelsea travel to Atalanta in the Champions League on Tuesday. Everton got their fourth win in 5 with an impressive and controlled performance against Nottingham Forest, winning 3-0. The game started fast, with an own goal by Milenkovic putting the home side ahead. Dewsbury Hall's cross-come shot was deflected into the back of the net, and within 90 seconds, Everton were ahead. That set the tone for the game, where Forest were unable to lay a glove on Everton, and things were worse for them by halftime. Ndiaye led a quick breakaway before laying the ball off to Barry, who slotted home on the stroke of halftime. That was his first goal for the club, and you could see in the celebrations how much it meant to him. The second half was largely the same, with Everton controlling proceedings. The star of the show, Dewsbury Hall, had nothing to show for his spectacular performance until the 80th minute, when O'Brien touched the ball into his path and he fired through a crowd of bodies to make it 3-0. That capped off a stellar showing and propelled Everton a good few places up the table. Overall, Everton were the better side, and it ended 3-0 to the home side here, and Forest will go back to the drawing board to get them out of this sticky situation that they're in. Manchester City make it 3 Premier League wins in a row with a relatively routine 3-0 win over Sunderland at the Etihad. A tight and relatively uneventful opening 30 minutes, thanks in large part to Sunderland's resistance and organisation, gave way to a furious final quarter hour of the first half, which saw strikes for both Dias and Gvardiol, giving City a 2-goal advantage at the interval. The visitors had a pair of golden opportunities 10 minutes after the restart, with Isidore denied by a quick-thinking Donnarumma following Dias's misplaced pass, and Xhaka striking the post with a close-range shot during a corner kick. The chances not taken would condemn the Black Cats though, as Guardiola's side would find a third a short time later, with Foden netting for the 5th time in 3 games thanks to a fantastic Cherki assist. The win for Manchester City leaves them in second place, 2 points back of Arsenal, ahead of a match with Real Madrid on Wednesday in the Champions League, before returning to the Premier League to take on Crystal Palace on Sunday. Sunderland dropped to 7th and will look to get back to winning ways in 8 days when they host Newcastle United in the derby. There's the full-time whistle as Newcastle United beat Burnley 2-1 to re-enter the top half of the Premier League. It was a consummate performance from Eddie Houseman as Bruno Guimaraes opened the scoring just after the half-hour mark with a superb Olympico goal straight from a corner on the left. Just before the interval, things went from bad to worse for the Clarets as Pius was sent off for a desperate, unsuccessful last-ditch tackle on Elanga. In the closing stages, Ugo Chokwu then handled the ball in the area and Gordon emphatically slammed his penalty home into the bottom left. After the break, a typically confident Newcastle looked to punish their visitors further, yet couldn't add to their score. Still, they worked above their 1.89 expected goals. Burnley piled on the pressure in the closing stages as a Fleming shot was blocked by Ramsey's arm inside the Newcastle area for a penalty. The Dutchman converted coolly as the VR intervention pushed the game past the allotted 3 minutes of additional time. There was an opening for one more chance, yet a mix-up between Fleming and Laurent saw the latter glance a free header tamely wide with everybody up. Burnley played underneath an eventual 1.61 expected goals and remained second from bottom. Newcastle, as said, now go 10th before the Sunday kickoffs. Frank gets one over on his former side as Spurs beat Brentford 2-0 in the Premier League. Richarlison opened the scoring, with Simons squaring it to the Brazilian to finish in an empty net. The provider became goalscorer when Simons stole possession from Vandenberg and placed a composed finish into the bottom corner. Kudus had a goal disallowed in the second half as Odebert was offside in the build-up to the goal. The Opta supercomputer was correct again, with Spurs being the pre-game favourites. Spurs climbed to 8th and face Nottingham Forest away from home next time out. For Brentford, they find themselves in 14th place and host Leeds United next. A truly remarkable second half sees 6 goals shared, leaving Leeds United and Liverpool to shake hands on a chaotic Premier League draw. With the scoreline still blank at half-time, neither side had even found the target, but that all changed after the break. Ikatika struck twice within 2 minutes soon after the restart, before Liverpool allowed their hosts to fight back. In the 73rd minute, Konate conceded a penalty, subsequently converted by Calvert-Lewin, and Stanic struck again moments later. But that only served to set the stage for a grandstand finale. First, Soboslai edged the Reds back in front, and they still led deep into 9 minutes of stoppage time. Yet, Leeds were not done, as substitute Tanaka beat Alisson with an angled shot that sent Elland wild with delight. As a result, the Whites edge up to 16th in the table, with the reigning champions stuck in 8th place. Slot's side would have gone 5th with a win. After dropping more points against promoted opponents, despite topping the full-time expected goals with 1.81 to 1.51, it will not get any easier for Liverpool next week. They must head for Milan to play Inter in the Champions League, while Leeds will wait 8 days until they visit Brentford. Brighton score late on to rescue a point against West Ham as the two sides draw 1-1. This game could be described as a slow burner, with the majority of the action coming in the final 20 minutes of the game. Neither side had much to celebrate across the first 2/3 of the game until Bowen scored the opener for the away side. Rutter managed to equalise for the hosts in added time after a lengthy VAR check confirmed the goal. Mavropanos could have given West Ham all 3 points with one of the last touches of the game, but the Greek defender's header went just wide of the post. Brighton ended the game with the higher expected goals, having 1.7 expected goals in the match, West Ham with 1.14 expected goals. The draw was only given a 19.7% chance before kick-off, with Brighton the heavy favourites. The result sees Brighton climb to 7th, with a trip to Anfield next on the agenda. For West Ham, they remain in the relegation zone and face high-flying Aston Villa next time out. Crystal Palace's best ever start to a Premier League season gets sweeter as they leapfrog Everton and Chelsea into the Champions League spots. Though Fulham dominated the ball throughout, completing their most passes in a Premier League game this season, 613, it was Palace who had the cutting edge. Nketiah opened the scoring after 20 minutes with a clinical finish after wonderful play from Wharton, but Fulham stormed back into it on 38 minutes, Wilson equalising with a world-class 4th goal of the season. The Welsh winger played a lightning-quick 1-2 with Jimenez around Lacra before flicking an outrageous Travella past Henderson with the outside of his left boot. The game then eased until the 87th minute when skipper Gahai rose between 2 Fulham defenders from a corner to nod home from close range, sending his team into the top 4. Fulham, meanwhile, dropped to 15th, just 4 points clear of the relegation zone, as a few nerves may begin creeping in at Craven Cottage. They visit Burnley next weekend in what is a crucial game for Silva. For Palace, it's a trip to Ireland to face Shelbourne in the UEFA Conference League as they aim to add a European trophy to last season's FA Cup.